Thank you for listening, and thank you, Lee, for the opportunity for these candidates to speak. Now we're going to get down to why we're here tonight. Not that you guys aren't why we're here. We're going to talk a little bit about our candidate, Lee McInnis, who's running for the 3rd Congressional District. Lee McInnis was born in Birmingham and grew up in Homewood. His father, Bill, served as an infantry company first sergeant during the Korean War in one of the first racially integrated combat units in the United States Army. Bill returned home and worked for the Jefferson County Engineering Department until he retired. Lee comes from a union family of coal miners and steel workers. His mother, Ruby, was a 46-year employee of the telephone company and a proud member of the Communications Workers of America labor union. He graduated from Homewood High School and Auburn University. He enlisted in the Army Intelligence Corps, where he trained as an Arabic linguist. He returned to Auburn on the GI Bill and earned a master's degree studying communication and international relations. He then began a 28-year career in the defense intelligence community. He started in the D.C. metro area where he met his lovely wife, Barbara, and they have been married for 35 years. Lee's career included 7 years of overseas service with assignments in the United Kingdom, Qatar, and Bahrain. He deployed to Iraq once and Afghanistan twice. His final position was as the Acting Director of Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance with the Joint NATO-U.S. Special Operations Task Force in Kabul, Afghanistan. Lee's awards include multiple Joint Meritorious and National Intelligence Unit citations, the Maryland State Military Commendation Medal, the NATO Medal, awarded twice, the Civilian Global War on Terrorism Service Medal, and Joint Chiefs of Staff Civilian Achievement Medal, and the Defense Intelligence Agency Director's Intelligence Award. He had a lot of jewelry. No. After leaving federal service, Lee returned to Alabama. He then earned a second master's degree from Auburn, this time in history. Lee and Barb live in Opelika with their 2 dogs, Shug and Cameron. And it is my great honor to introduce to you Mr. Lee McInnis, our next congressman.
That's the part of this I hate, hearing my own biography. It's just a little taxing for me to hear it over and over again. My name is Lee McInnis, and I am running to represent the 720,000 people that live in Alabama's 3rd Congressional District. What I'd like to do today, before I get started, is to thank a bunch of people, because if I don't do it right now, I'm going to forget to do it at all. So, first off, I want to thank Monroe for setting this up. I want to thank the St. Clair Democratic Party. You guys have done great. I really appreciate this opportunity. We've done 2 town hall meetings so far, one in Lee County and Opelika, sort of as a dry run back before the first of the year. We did another one in Anniston. This is going to be the model as we move forward. Unlike my opponent, who has not had an open meeting with his constituents in 9 years, we are going to do one of these in all 11 counties before November the 3rd to show that we are out here to represent all 720,000 people in this district. I want to thank Tanya for that reading of the opening lines of the Declaration of Independence. If you can hear those lines the way she read them and you not be moved, you need to check yourself. Because that is the basis. Those are the opening words of the life of this experiment in democracy. And if that doesn't move you and put you to thinking, I really challenge you to look at yourself and think hard about how you perceive our nation. I also want to thank Pam Wiseman Howard, my good friend. Pam was one of the very first people. The weird thing about this is I now walk up to Doug Jones and he says, "Hey, Lee." And I'm like, "That's Doug Jones, that's weird." And Philip Insler and I, who's going to be our next lieutenant governor, and I now, we're going to are on a first name basis. Ron Sparks, our next agriculture commissioner, and I chat. But Pam was one one of the very first people I met on this campaign. And she has been there for me every single step of the way. She's taking phone calls, text messages, asking me, hey, what the hell am I doing? And she's usually got an answer for it. And since she's asked me to do this for her in a couple of weeks, I asked her to do this today. So I really appreciate it, Pam. Thank you very much for doing this. Then I want to thank my wife, Barb, who will be manning the merch table as soon as this is over with. We've got t-shirts, we've got signs, we've got koozies, because everybody needs more koozies. Which is something I get made fun of whenever my volunteers talk, because I didn't want to get koozies, but those are the most popular thing we have. Barb has been there every step of the way, going back to June of last year when I first had this idea. And if you would, as you walk out today, please wish her a happy birthday. Her birthday is tomorrow. And if you ask her how old she is, she's going to say the same thing she tells me: I'm younger than he is. And that's going to be the end of that. Finally, I want to thank Alan, Donald, and Angela. I invite them to come and to speak without hesitation and without screening their comments in advance. Because I know that we're a big tent. There is one party in this country where if you step 1 inch out of line, you will be crushed. There is a thing people say that if you get 10 Democrats in the room and you ask them their opinion, you're going to get 11 different answers. But I know that as Democrats, we believe in the same core things. We believe that government is there to protect and uplift the working people and not protect the profits of major corporations. I know that we believe that public education is the silver bullet that can solve so many of our problems, and that every child in this nation deserves a free, quality education delivered in a safe environment. And we believe that it's the job of every elected official to protect the civil rights of every person in this country and not just a select few. Those are things every Democrat believes in, and those are things I express without hesitation. Today, what I'd like to do is talk to you about some key things in my background. Then I'm going to talk to you a little bit about issues that I think are prominent that we all need to be thinking about. And then we're going to open it up for some questions and answers. If that's okay with everybody? I got one thumbs up here. A lot of people are like, please don't let him look at me. I don't want to be involved. Okay. As Pam said, I was born in Birmingham at Caraway Hospital, which is now an amphitheater. I grew up in West Homewood, and I say West Homewood for y'all familiar with Homewood. West Homewood was the post-war housing development area that was the first home ownership experience for a lot of GIs and a lot of veterans. Every house on my street was bought with a GI homeowner. It was a working class neighborhood, like Pam told you. My father, he helped integrate one of the first combat units in the United States Army. My mother was a 40-year member of the unions. So I grew up with a unique perspective in Homewood, Alabama, in a working class neighborhood in the 1960s and 1970s. We were taught three basic things in my house. Number one, if a person worked, no matter what their race, what their religion was, what their national origin was, or how much they got paid for that job, if a person worked, they were to be treated with dignity and respect. If you couldn't work, we have a duty to care for you. And we were taught that public service was an obligation of everyone who lives in a free society. And I carried those lessons with me all the way through my life. After leaving federal service, I moved back to Alabama with my wife to a home in Opelika, and I began to realize that in large parts of this district, we were not living up to the American dream. There were people who were not being allowed to advance in their lives the way we wanted to. And for 20 years, over 20 years, our member of Congress was doing absolutely nothing to help the people of this district. This district is struggling economically. 17% of the people in this district live below the poverty line. That's 7 points higher than the national average. And if you go to places like Lafayette and Gadsden, the number is 3 times higher than the national average. 105,000 people in this district rely on SNAP to keep food insecurity at bay. And unlike what our senator says when he refers to inner city mail, and let's all be honest, we know exactly what he means when he says that. The 105,000 people in this district that rely on SNAP are almost entirely from families with children or a disabled adult living in the home. There are places like Lynette, Ashland, and Heflin where the median family income does not meet the standard for a living wage in that county. And that's the standard. We have healthcare deserts in this district. We have too many counties with no trauma centers. We have too many counties with no hospitals. We have too many counties with no labor and delivery services. We have too many counties with no pediatricians at all. We have one county that doesn't have a full-time medical doctor of any sort. And the Alabama Department of Public Health says that every county in this district, all 11, have shortages of medical professionals and critical shortages of mental health care. We have counties in this district where when you dial 911, it will be 2 hours before that ambulance will come get you and you will get to an emergency room. We have too many cities and towns without access to clean drinking water. We have crumbling schools and public housing that is not fit for human dwellings. And we have communities with barely functional sewer systems. And across this district, I see frustration that is verging on despair and desperation. And this is in the richest country in the world in 2026, and I find that unacceptable. Our representative in Washington, my opponent, is not working to improve things. In fact, he's doing the exact opposite. He voted twice for the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, which will remove $1 trillion from Medicaid and Medicare. The Alabama Hospital Association says that will result in the closure of half our rural hospitals. The AARP says it will result in the closure of 1/4 of our nursing homes. And if you live in a county in this district that has one nursing home, that statement I just made is terrifying. The Childhood Health Insurance Program, which covers half the children in this state, is liable to go away if we do not flip the U.S. House of Representatives. My opponent stood by while this administration's illegal tariffs destroyed our farm economies. Our 4 main cash crops are cotton, corn, soybean, peanuts. This year, cotton lost an average of $237 an acre. Corn lost $27 an acre, and peanuts and soybean only made a profit of $2 per acre. For those of y'all that know anything about our farm economies, a farmer might be able to get through 1 year. A farmer is not going to get through a second year. And that was before this administration began an unnecessary war with Iran that put 20% of the world's oil supply off limits. And it caused diesel fuel prices to go so high, farmers couldn't fuel their equipment. It caused fertilizer prices to go so high. The American Farm Bureau says 78% of farmers in this country cannot buy the full order of fertilizer they thought they needed. They also say 6 out of 10 farmers in this country say they are worse off today than they were 1 year ago. According to the Farm Bureau, farm foreclosures in this state are up 46% over the last year. And you know this well if you live in a rural community, but you should understand that when a farm closes, that's not just, before it gets foreclosed on, that's not just a tragedy for that family. That's a loss of an economic asset for that community, because that farm is not going to be bought by another farmer. That farm is going to be bought by a holding company that's going to let that land go fallow and will no longer be contributing to the economy of that area. My opponent, the chairman of the House Armed Services Committee, claims to be one of the most powerful men in Washington, and he is uniquely positioned to step in and make a difference, yet he has stood by and said nothing. And while all of this is happening, my opponent is now pushing for a $600 billion a year increase in the defense budget, raising it to $1.5 trillion a year. And he stated in a closed-door meeting in Auburn that he did not care what that did to the federal deficit. He said it was going to be a boon for the economies in Huntsville and on the Gulf Coast. I don't know if y'all looked at the map of the 3rd District lately. Huntsville and the Gulf Coast ain't in this district. Mr. Rogers, It said he's running to continue America's first policy. But let's be clear about one thing. Their version of America First does not include Ashland or Lineville in Clay County. It does not include Lynette or Valley in Chambers County, or Roanoke and Wedowee and Randolph, or Heflin and Cleburne, or Center in Cherokee County, or Pell City, or Ashland, or Gadsden, or Anniston, or Talladega, or Opelika, or any other community in this district that needs the help of the federal government to survive on a day-to-day basis. And we're going to change that. We're running on 4 very simple ideas. Number 1, first, this economy has to work for the people who work. We'll fight so people who work will earn a living wage. We'll fight for workers' right to collectively bargain to give them power in this economy. We will fight for an environment that will allow small businesses to succeed, and we will close loopholes in the tax code so that billionaires, and now I have to add this, trillionaires, the multinational corporations pay their fair share of the tax burden. Second, in the richest country in the world, everyone should have a fair shot at living a healthy life. We will fight to give everyone access to basic health care. We will work with local governments so that everyone has access to clean drinking water and functional sewer systems. Because investing in our children pays for itself over and over and over again, we will fight for universal school lunches. And we are dedicated to the idea that the best healthcare outcomes occur when healthcare decisions for a woman or a family are made by that woman and that family, and not by a committee of men in some state capital. Third, as a disabled veteran, I pledge to the 41,000 veterans in this district that we will provide you the care you will promise when at the risk of your own life and your own health, you swore an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States. Finally, we will ensure that elected officials will serve the people they were elected to represent and not some moneyed interest or their own bank balances by fighting for a 12-year term limit for both houses of Congress, fighting to end corporate and foreign interest money in our elections, making sure that members of Congress are prevented from making individual stock trades, and by passing a code of judicial ethics that will include the Supreme Court of the United States. We will run an open and transparent campaign. We believe that exchange of ideas in a fair and open environment is essential to the democratic process, and we have, by certified letter, asked Congressman Rogers twice if he would join us in a debate. We have stated any nonpartisan organization within the state can host this, and we will have it anywhere in the 3rd District. And the political experts in this state have called me crazy for giving that up right off the bat. But I have no fear in meeting Mike Rogers in an open debate. I've offered all of this. Now it's time for Congressman Rogers to step up and say the same thing. This is a critical time in our democracy. One political party is clearly dedicated to preserving its political power and perks that come with it. We will be dedicated to serving the people of this district. It's time for a change. My opponent has been in his position for 24 years. It is time for him to find a new job. 24 years is too long for a person to hold a seat in the U.S. House of Representatives when they had no desire to serve the district they were elected. So, we are going to open it up for questions. I'm just thinking the crowds are much smaller, so I'll tell you what. If you have a question, raise your hand. We have a microphone if you need it. I will ask you to do a couple of things first. Please remember that I think of all 720 people that live in this district as my neighbors. I would appreciate it if you remember that as you ask questions tonight. None of these questions have been pre-screened. I don't know many of you. I've met some of you tonight, but I don't know why you're here. But please be courteous. That's all I'm going to ask. If there's Republicans in the House, thanks for coming. I'm happy to hear your questions as well. So you may not agree with my answers. Unfortunately, there's probably going to be a couple of people that want to have a conversation tonight. So please, if we don't agree, let's just accept that and move on and not argue about the debate that's going to last for 3 days. Okay? All right. Just give me a second. I'm taking the jacket off the top here. Is that okay with everybody? Okay. You guys are sitting over there with your jacket still on the button. I don't know